Alright, welcome back. I get asked a lot what lure I'm using in the videos and the tournaments and all that. And really I'm using two lures, but I figured I would go over my number one favorite lure in this video. And that is this. Uh, I call it a skinny Senko. I think the actual brand name on it is like thin Senko or slim Senko, something like that. But I use a generic one. Yamamoto does make one, like the big name brand does make one. They're really good, but they're kind of hard to find, and if you can find them, they're kind of expensive. So I get a big pack of them off the internet for a Ziploc bag of like 40 or 50 of them for like 15 bucks. They're the same length as a regular Senko, but they're thin. They're about half the diameter. A lot of people think it's just like a regular finesse worm or something, or trick worm, something like that, robo worm, but it's really not. You can fish it just like that, but you can also fish it like a regular Senko where it has the shimmy on the way down. I just weightless Texas rig them. You can put a weighted Texas rig, you can wacky rig it, you can do whatever you want. The best hook to use would be EWG, but this one's kind of a thicker gauge, and you really want to go with the thinnest gauge possible because it's such a thin bait. That's like this is just a regular worm hook. That's the best gauge to use. This one I'm kind of out of the thinner gauge EWGs. I would prefer to use an EWG. Those work just as well. Anyway, it's probably the most effective lure that I've ever used, and I don't go anywhere without it. If I run out of those, I'm probably not going to really go fishing. The number two lure I use would be a small paddle tail swim bait, like a 2-inch or a 3-inch. But this is number one. This is my favorite lure I've ever used. I found them by accident. I ordered them by accident. I thought I was ordering like a big, huge pack of regular Senkos, and when they came in, they were these. And I've never looked back. I've used these almost exclusively since. I've never gone back to the full-size Senko or even a Yumdinger since. Now, the Yumdinger is actually a smaller size than the full-size Senko. They're still a little bit thicker than this, but they're pretty close. That might be more comparable than a regular Senko, but they don't have the same movement. This is the same material as a regular Senko. Not all of them are the same material. This particular one that I get is the same material. But, I mean, if you can find the genuine Yamamoto slim Senko or thin Senko, those are really the way to go. But they're kind of expensive, and they're kind of hard to find. So, go ahead and rig this one up and get out on the water. Let's get to it. I'm cutting it close for my deadline for this week. Post videos every Friday. It's Thursday right now. This week's been kind of rough because it decided to storm all week, and it's very muddy out here. I wore the wrong boots. But on top of that, I haven't been able to catch anything this week because it's been raining this whole time. But the water level looks like it's back down to normal. Clarity's okay. It's not where it should be, but it's almost there. And yeah, this whole park was underwater 2 days ago. So I don't know if I'm going to be able to catch anything here or not. Alright, and at the beginning of the video I was talking about how you can fish this like a trick worm. I just didn't have any trick worms on me at the moment, but I just found one on the ground. So that's the difference between the skinny Senko and a trick worm. You can fish them the same way. They do have a lot of the same aspects, but they're very different shaped. They give off a very different profile. And this one's pretty soft. I think this might have some kind of a shimmy on the drop after you cast out. You let it sink to the bottom, but nothing compares to the Senkos on that. If you are walking on slick mud, I always tell everybody, go where the vegetation is. Step on the grass and the plants. You'll get a better grip. Water's actually cleaner than normal over here. And that tree's been knocked down over there. Oh, I got one? Oh, he let go. That tree's been cleared out of the way. That's interesting. Kind of sucks that tree's been there forever. But now I can cast into that hole in that corner without snagging it. Oh, there's a bass. Got him. No, he came off. What? What? Oh no, I do got him. What? He just swam towards me when I set the hook. I saw him come out and grab it. That's not a bad one. I mean, it's a small bass in the grand scheme of things, but for this little park right here in this little section, that's okay. That's not terrible. Yeah. And that hook does not want to come out. I hope I brought my pliers. Let's see. All right. There we go. It's a nice, healthy little fish. I'm glad to see that. He's kind of fat. Hiding over there in the rocks under that waterfall. Very nice. And that's all I was doing. I threw it out there, let it sink to the bottom, and switched it up towards him, and he came out and grabbed it. And, okay, now he's going back the direction he was supposed to. I mean, he was maybe 10 inches at the very most. Probably not even that much. But, I mean, look at where I'm fishing. I could jump across this creek in most of the places. I could walk across right there without getting my feet wet. So, this particular spot doesn't have a whole lot of big fish. Oh, that's a better one. I didn't even feel him bite it. I just started retrieving it, and he's on it. That's a good fish. That's much better than the last one. Yeah. Yep. Of course, he swallowed it. Must be a male and a female down there. I can get that. There we go. I got that out relatively easy. It looks like he's going good. He's not bleeding or anything. So there we go. This is a much bigger fish. Got a little parasite on its tail. This is probably about 12 inches and maybe a pound and a half. That first one was maybe 8 to 10 inches and less than a pound. So there we go. That's a nice fish. And like I said, I threw it out and he grabbed it on the drop. But it's also kind of like his hole where he lives. So he didn't go anywhere. So I didn't even know he'd bit it till I started retrieving it. So that is a problem with some of the smaller baits and thinner gauge hooks, is if they grab it and you don't realize they're on it, you don't set the hook and you end up gut hooking them like that. But that fish was able to come off pretty easily. Everything went back to normal on the inside. It looked good. So I think he'll be all right. Okay, so I just caught a pound and a half to a 2 pound bass. But when I looked down at my camera afterwards, like I usually turn it off when I'm done recording. But when I looked down, it was still on, but it wasn't recording or anything. So I don't know if it actually recorded any of that. It should have, but I don't know. The shallow section that flows through all these rocks and then gets deeper over here. And there's always some kind of fish hanging out here. There's usually bass hiding around somewhere too. Oh, there's one. Sunfish. Green sunfish. The sun is way too bright. Alright, this is probably the deepest section, maybe of this whole creek. Usually, for some reason, not a whole lot of fish right here, but there's usually at least a couple of bass, 1 or 2. And someone's got it. No, there's always sunfish, though, everywhere you go. And you can tell it's a sunfish because they pull it down off the hook. Oh! Oh! I got one there. I don't think that's a bass, but as one was biting it there, it was pulling the line out. Something else jumped out of the water trying to eat the line. It was actually something else. It was probably the same species of fish, these green sunfish. So that other one was probably even bigger than the one that jumped out of the water. All right, so there you have it. That's my favorite bass fishing lure. If you've ever watched my channel before, you probably already knew that was my favorite lure. The skinny Senko or thin Senko or slim Senko, whatever you want to call it. I call it a skinny Senko, or sometimes a thin Senko. I just wanted to do a quick video about that, and it was very difficult to catch any fish this week because it was raining all week, thunderstorming, flooding. Brackenridge Park got flooded. The zoo at Brackenridge actually got flooded. The park where I ended up finally catching fish for this video, most of the places where I was standing, I would have been either shoulder deep or completely underwater. That is like the first place in San Antonio that gets flooded, so that's to be expected. I finally found a couple of bass. I didn't really see any upstream. I don't know if they were still hiding or they got washed out or what, but the further and further up I went, the fewer bites I got, even from green sunfish, which are a pest. They're everywhere. So, yeah, with all that being said, thank you for watching, and we'll see you next time.